The night air feels heavier than it should, like the city itself is holding its breath. The streetlights stretch long shadows across the pavement, and my Doberman walks beside me, steady and silent, nails clicking softly against the concrete. I wrap my hands deeper into my jacket, not because I'm cold, but because there's something in my chest that won't settle. These walks used to feel like an escape, a place where my thoughts slowed down and my heart felt lighter. Tonight, every step feels like I'm walking deeper into something I don't yet have a name for. I remember when coming home used to feel like stepping into warmth. The sound of laughter drifting down the hallway. The way the kitchen light stayed on even when it was late, like a quiet promise that someone was waiting. Back then, my phone buzzed with messages that said, "Hurry home," and I always did. We used to sit on the floor with our backs against the couch, talking about nothing and everything, planning trips we never took, dreaming about a future that felt close enough to touch. Love felt simple, honest, safe. Somewhere along the way, that safety started to thin, like fabric worn down by too many washes. Conversations became shorter. Smiles came a second too late. The phone started living face down on the table, always just out of reach. I told myself it was stress, work, life, the thousand excuses people make when they don't want to admit something is changing. I kept believing because believing was easier than asking the question I didn't want the answer to. My Doberman slows, ears lifting, eyes sharp, scanning the empty street as if he's listening to a sound I can't hear. I pause with him, the leash slack in my hand, and for a moment, the world feels frozen. A car passes in the distance, its headlights cutting through the dark, and I catch my reflection in a shop window. I barely recognize the person staring back at me. The eyes look tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying something unspoken for too long. I think about the last time we sat together without the glow of a screen between us. It feels like a memory from another life. We used to talk about trust like it was unbreakable, like something solid you could build a future on. Now it feels fragile, like glass balanced on the edge of a table, one small movement away from shattering. I keep waiting for a moment that will prove me wrong, a laugh that feels real, a touch that doesn't feel distant. But moments don't come when you wait for them. They only come when they're meant to. The dog pulls slightly, guiding me forward, and I let him. He's always been like this, confident, sure of where he's going, even when I'm not. There's something comforting about that. Loyalty doesn't need words. It just walks beside you, steady and unchanging. I wonder when people stop being like that. When promises turn into habits, and habits turn into empty spaces. My phone vibrates in my pocket, and my heart jumps before I even look. The message is short. I'll be late tonight. No explanation. No apology. Just a statement. I stare at the screen longer than I should, waiting for another message that doesn't come. I type a reply and delete it. Type another and delete that too. What do you say when you don't know what you're really asking? The Doberman stops again, this time refusing to move. He plants himself in the middle of the sidewalk, body tense, eyes fixed down the street like he's guarding something invisible. I follow his gaze, but all I see is the empty road and the quiet glow of distant windows. Still, a chill runs through me, the kind that doesn't come from the cold. It comes from the feeling that something important is just out of sight, waiting. I kneel beside him and rest my hand on his back, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. For a moment, it's the only thing that feels real. The city noise fades, the worries soften, and all that's left is this simple, honest presence. I wish love could be like that. Clear, loyal, uncomplicated. As we finally turn back toward home, my steps are slower than before. The building looms ahead, familiar but different somehow, like a place I used to know. I tell myself I'm overthinking, that tomorrow will feel normal again, that this unease will pass like every other bad feeling does. But deep down, there's a quiet voice I can't ignore anymore. This was the first night I realized that loyalty isn't something you say. It's something you prove. Sleep doesn't come. It circles me instead, like a thought I can't finish, like a door I can't quite close. The room is dark, but my mind is loud, replaying small moments that never seemed important until now. The way a laugh faded too quickly. The way a hand pulled back instead of reaching forward. Beside the bed, my Doberman shifts, nails tapping softly against the floor as he stands, then sits, then stands again. Even he feels it, the restless energy that hums in the air, the sense that something is moving just out of view. I stare at the ceiling and try to remember the last time I felt certain. Certain about love, certain about being chosen. Certainty used to be a feeling that wrapped around me like a blanket. Now it feels like a story I once heard and can't quite retell. My phone lies on the nightstand, silent and face down, like it's hiding something from me. I flip it over, half expecting a message that changes everything. There's nothing, just the time glowing back at me, reminding me how late it's getting. The dog lets out a low sound, not a bark, not a whine, something in between. He walks to the door and looks back at me, eyes steady, patient, like he's waiting for me to make a choice I don't know how to make. I grab the leash without thinking, pull on my jacket, and follow him into the quiet hallway. The building is asleep, lights dimmed, footsteps echoing in a way that makes every movement feel louder than it should be. Outside, the night feels colder, sharper. The street is almost empty, just a few cars passing like ghosts, headlights cutting thin lines through the dark. My Doberman moves with purpose now, not the slow, wandering pace of our usual walks. He pulls left at the corner where we always go right. I hesitate, then let him lead. There's a strange comfort in not deciding for myself, in letting instinct take over. We move through familiar streets that suddenly feel unfamiliar, like I'm seeing them through someone else's eyes. Windows glow with quiet lives inside, dinners, televisions, laughter I can't hear but can imagine. I wonder what it would feel like to be inside one of those rooms, not carrying this weight, not questioning every memory. The leash tugs again, and I'm pulled back into the present. Then I see the car. I recognize it before my mind can catch up, parked under a streetlight that flickers like it's unsure whether to stay on. My heart stumbles in my chest, not racing, not slowing, just offbeat. I stop, and the Doberman stops with me, sitting at my side like he knows this is where the walk was always meant to end. Across the street, there's a window, bright against the dark. I don't want to look, but my eyes move on their own. Inside, I see shapes, movement, reflections layered over reflections. I see a familiar posture, a tilt of the head I know better than my own. There's laughter, silent behind the glass, but I can see it in the way shoulders lift, in the way someone leans in closer than they should. The world narrows to that single frame. Everything else fades, the traffic, the cold, even the dog beside me. I don't feel anger like I expected. I feel something quieter, heavier, like a truth settling into place after a long fall. This is what all those small moments were pointing to. This is the answer I didn't want to ask for. My Doberman doesn't move. He doesn't growl or pull or react at all. He just sits there, solid and calm, a steady weight against my leg. I rest my hand on his head, grounding myself in the simple, real warmth of him. For a second, I consider crossing the street, knocking on the door, turning this silent discovery into a loud confrontation. I imagine the words I would say, the explanations I would demand. None of it feels right. Not yet. I step back instead, the shadows swallowing me up as I move away from the light. The window stays bright behind me, a scene continuing without me in it. Each step feels like I'm walking out of a version of my life I thought was mine. At the corner, I stop and look down at my dog. He looks back at me, eyes steady, unjudging. I lean down and whisper, my voice barely more than breath, I think my life just split into before this moment, and after. We turn away together, the sound of a door closing somewhere in the distance following us down the street like an echo I can't shake. The door opens with a sound that feels louder than it should, like it's announcing something I'm not ready to hear. The room fills with the quiet weight of another presence, familiar and suddenly distant at the same time. I don't turn right away. I focus on the steady rise and fall of my Doberman's chest beside me, on the simple rhythm of breathing that reminds me I'm still here. Still standing, still able to choose what happens next. You're up, the voice says. It's casual, almost normal. That's what hurts the most. Normal feels like a lie now. I turn slowly, meeting eyes that search my face for something I'm not giving. There's a pause, The kind that stretches between people when both of them know a truth is sitting in the room, waiting to be acknowledged. I don't raise my voice. I don't accuse. I just say, I went for a walk tonight. The words hang there, light but heavy at the same time. Confusion flickers, then something else, recognition, maybe, or fear. With the dog, comes the reply, like it's just another question, like the answer doesn't already matter. I followed where he led, I say. Sometimes instinct knows things before we're ready to. I describe the streetlight, the parked car, the window. I talk about reflections and shadows, about laughter I couldn't hear but could still see. I keep my tone even, almost gentle, because anger feels too easy, and this feels too important for easy. Silence fills the space between us. It's thick, pressing in on my ears, my chest, my thoughts. When the confession comes, it doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds tired. Words tumble out about feeling unseen, about loneliness that crept in quietly, about not knowing how to talk about it without breaking something. I listen, really listen, and realize how strange it is to hear the person you love explain the moment they started leaving you. I never meant for it to happen like this, comes the final line, like that's supposed to soften the blow. I nod, not because I agree, but because I understand. Understanding doesn't heal anything, but it makes the pain clearer, more defined. Love doesn't disappear all at once, I say. It fades in pieces, in the things we stop saying, in the way we stop looking at each other. My voice wavers just enough to remind both of us that I'm not made of stone, no matter how calm I sound. My Doberman shifts closer, his head resting against my knee. The weight of him is grounding, solid, real in a way this conversation isn't. I run my fingers through his fur, focusing on the texture, the warmth, the simple truth of his presence. He doesn't ask for explanations. He doesn't offer excuses. He just stays. I didn't want to hurt you, the voice across from me says, softer now. I know, I reply. But wanting and doing are different things. The words surprise me as they leave my mouth. They feel like something I should have learned a long time ago. We talk in fragments after that. About memories that now feel fragile. About plans that don't fit the shape of our lives anymore. About how two people can be in the same room and still feel worlds apart. There are moments when the past tries to rush back in, inside jokes, familiar smiles, the comfort of shared history, but each time, reality pulls us forward again, reminding us why we're here. Then comes the question, quiet but heavy enough to tilt the air around it. Can we fix this? I look down at my dog instead of answering right away. He meets my gaze, eyes steady, trusting, unafraid. Loyalty doesn't wonder if it should stay. It just does. I realize how rare that is, how powerful, how simple. I don't know, I finally say. And I mean it. I don't dress it up. I don't offer false hope or a clean ending. Some things can be healed. Some things can only be remembered. The room feels different after that, like a line has been drawn that can't be erased, only stepped over or left behind. There's no shouting, no dramatic exit, just the quiet understanding that something we once called ours now belongs to the past. I stand, the Doberman rising with me, his presence a steady shadow at my side. The door behind us feels less like an entrance and more like a boundary. I pause for a moment, hand resting on the frame, taking in the familiar space one last time, not as it was, but as it is now. As I step away, I don't feel strong. I don't feel free. I feel honest. And for the first time in a long while, that feels like enough. Morning comes quietly, not with sunlight spilling through the windows, but with the soft sound of breathing beside me. The Doberman is already awake, watching the room like it's his job to protect whatever is left inside it. The air feels different now. Lighter in some ways, heavier in others. The kind of stillness that follows a storm, when everything looks the same but nothing really is. I move through the apartment and notice the small things first. The empty hook where a jacket used to hang. The mug left behind in the sink. The silence where another voice once lived. It doesn't hurt the way I thought it would. It settles instead, slow and deep, like a truth finally finding its place in my chest. I make coffee for one and don't feel guilty about it. Outside, the city is waking up. Cars pass, people walk with purpose, lives continuing without any idea of what ended in my world last night. The Doberman walks beside me, steady as ever, his presence a constant reminder that something in my life still moves forward without hesitation. I match my steps to his, letting the rhythm carry me through streets that feel both familiar and new. I think about who I was before all of this. The version of me that believed love meant holding on no matter what. The one who thought loyalty was something you could ask for, something you could expect. I don't judge that person anymore. I understand them. They were just trying to feel safe. But safety built on silence doesn't last. It just waits for the moment it finally collapses. The park is quiet, dew still clinging to the grass, the air sharp and clean. I sit on a bench and let the Doberman stretch out at my feet. He closes his eyes, completely at ease, like the world has done nothing to earn his distrust. I envy that. At the same time, I realize I don't want to go back to being that open. I want to be aware. I want to choose what I let close to me instead of handing myself over without question. Days start to fall into a new pattern. Morning walks, work, evenings filled with small routines I didn't know how much I needed. I cook for myself. I play music out loud instead of in my headphones. I let the apartment sound like someone lives there again, even if that someone is just me and a dog who thinks every noise is worth investigating. There are moments when memories sneak up on me. A song we used to play in the car. A street we walked down together. A joke that no one else would understand. The ache comes, sharp and quick, but it doesn't stay. It passes like a wave, leaving me standing instead of pulling me under. I'm learning that missing someone doesn't mean you have to go back to them. It just means they mattered. One evening, my phone lights up while I'm sitting on the floor, leaning against the couch, the same place we used to talk about the future. The message is simple. I still think about you. No apology, no explanation, just a door cracked open, waiting to see if I'll push it wider. I don't reply right away. I set the phone down and look at my Doberman. He's standing by the window, staring out at the street, ears forward, alert like he's waiting for something to appear. A car passes, then another. Nothing stops. Nothing changes. He doesn't move. I think about the night he led me down a different path without knowing what he was doing. About how that walk broke something in me and built something else in its place. I realized that the best moment of my life wasn't discovering a betrayal. It was discovering that I could survive it. That I could stand in the middle of something painful and come out knowing myself better than I did before. I pick up the phone and type a message. I erase it. Type another. Erase that too. The words don't come because I don't actually know what I want yet. And for the first time, I'm okay with not knowing. The future doesn't feel like a plan anymore. It feels like a space. Open. Waiting. The Doberman turns away from the window and comes to sit beside me, his weight warm and real against my leg. I rest my hand on his back, feeling the steady strength there, the quiet promise of presence without conditions. I don't need an answer tonight. I don't need closure wrapped up in a perfect sentence. I stand and walk toward the door, leash in hand. The city outside is alive with possibility, with roads that don't all lead back to the same place. As we step out into the night, I glance once more at the phone in my pocket, still glowing with a message I haven't answered. I still don't know if I'm walking toward my future, or back into my past.